say he's handling it pretty well. Oopsies!
It's time to cross the finish line into the next season of Total Drama to judge its contestants for their sins. Hey guys, I'm Brad with WickedBinge, and this is every Total Drama Ridonculous Race Team's Worst Deed Ranked. That's right, teams. Since this season is all about how the teams work together, we decided to make things a little different this time. We'll be judging each team together and taking their worst deeds together for a joint ranking. We've got 18 teams to get through, so let's get started. First, we have the innocent. We're gonna start with one camper's redemption and another's debut. Jeff and Brody, the surfers, are wholesome. Jeff had his ups and downs during their original Total Drama seasons, especially when he became a borderline sadistic host on the Aftermath in action.
This is where the real action is! Yeah!
Thankfully, during his time on Ridonculous Race with Brody, we see only the best of his character return. Jeff is a bro to everyone, especially with Brody, who's more or less a clone of Jeff's good attributes. They might be kinda stupid, but they're nice guys. Also blameless are the other TDI veterans, Owen and Noah. Unless you count being a little bit overbearing on Owen's end and biting sarcasm on Noah's, they're pretty much clean as far as Ridonculous Race goes. Noah in particular is actually far nicer than ever before, and while that is mainly due to his crush on Emma, it's still worth noting. Their soul may be black, but their heart is pure gold. Next are the Goths, Crimson and Ennui. Bad kids was not the right phrase to describe them. Far from it, actually. They lost a challenge because they were looking for their lost bunny, Loki, and given their appearance of each other's non-goth underlying appearances, it's safe to say they probably have the most supportive and healthy relationship in the entire series. Extra points for some pretty sick fashion senses. Rounding out the fully innocent parties are the geniuses, Mary and Elodie. Guys, we're gonna be frank with you, not only do they hardly do anything, good or bad, but I literally forgot they existed until looking up the list of the teams to make sure we got everybody. Their whole character is basically just smart.
The wind velocity was 45 knots.
Like, that's nothing to be ashamed of, but at least the others have something going on. We've reached the first hurdle in our journey. These characters have some not so bad deeds. First are the adversity twins, Jay and Mickey, whose worst deed is collectively having terrible luck. Okay, sure, that's not their fault, but man, do they have the worst luck imaginable. They use a prototype for the design of Cameron from Revenge of the Island, and their character shtick reflects that. It's awful to the extent that Emma and Kitty, who were initially open to forming an alliance with them, ended up going back on it.
Alliance terminated.
No offense guys, but it is hard to blame them. Still, they're nice people and loyal to the very end, so they're placed in a modest spot. Next, we have another pair of friendly faces. Best friends CARRIE and DEVIN's worst deed is jealousy. Again, nothing malicious. In fact, nothing even unreasonable on CARRIE's end. Her annoyance at DEVIN's girlfriend back home, Shelly, is less about her own jealousy and more about the fact that Shelly is an abusive jerk.
She's dumped me!
As for Devin, as agitating as his obliviousness is, he gets points for being a pretty nice guy and a good friend, even if he constantly compares CARRIE to Shelly, which is as annoying to her as it is to the audience. But their jealousy of each other's love interests can lead to them being passive-aggressive and manipulative. CARRIE tries to rush Devin to get over Shelly way faster than anyone reasonably would, just so she could confess to him. And really, their roles pretty much reversed when Shelly got over Devin right after he finally realized how he felt, at which point Devin became extremely jealous for her. We're glad things worked out, because we fear the absolute horrors that might have occurred with just one more episode of delay. Next is DWAYNE and DWAYNE Jr.'s worst deed, DWAYNE's bumbling behavior. A kid being embarrassed by their parents, par for the course. A dad being clumsy and unintentionally offensive despite good intentions, even more par for the course. Put them together and you've got what is, although a very wholesome father-son duo, two regular and therefore flawed people.
Surely we can work something out here, huh?
DWAYNE may be clumsy and careless, but he loves his son and just wants to have fun with him. As for Junior, he's understandably fed up with his dad's antics, but he'd do well to keep the love and good intentions beneath them in mind. Thankfully, it seems like their departure from the season left their connection on a happy note. Maybe, after Pakatu Island, they can watch one of the good Total Drama seasons together. Jokes aside, they're nice people with a sweet connection, separating them far from the season's other parental bond. To end off the section, we have the lightning round, with the minor annoyances. is. These are characters without any huge marks against them, aside from some less than favorable traits. First are Rock and Spud, the Rockers, whose worst deed is Spud's laziness. They're friendly, but it's worth noting how aggravatingly lazy Spud can be, and how it takes him ages to even start trying to improve as a teammate. He causes a lot of trouble for Rock as a result, but at least they're not delusional, like Leonard and Tammy, the delusional pair of LARPers. It's a shame that Leonard, the only player to ever return from Pakatu Island for another season, showed that he learned absolutely nothing from his time, caring more about trying to cast spells on his opponents to keep them from victory.
Chaos Barrier!
Considering that he was demoted from second boot to first boot, it goes without saying that this was unsuccessful. Oh, and Tammy, she was also there. She did exist. They're nice people, but maybe competitive TV isn't for you. Flamboyant fashion bloggers Tom and Jen's worst deed is occasional rudeness. In terms of overall morality, they're pretty close with the geniuses, but their attitudes are a bit more condescending, especially to those of lesser fashion sense. Last but not least are geriatric tennis rivals Jerry and Pete. You know Statler and Waldorf, those elderly Muppets who are always insulting whatever's going on in the show? That's basically Jerry and Pete's dynamic in a nutshell. Yeah, they're rude to everyone, but equally rude to each other. They're such intense rivals that, despite being teammates, they routinely sabotage each other.
That was for Wimbledon 77!
We might be in the minority here, but honestly, they were kind of funny. Imagine an entire season of them trying to ruin each other's hopes and dreams just to keep winning anyway. Would have been really dang funny. But that concludes the lesser evil deeds. We're now getting into the really bad deed. The twin sisters, Kitty and Emma, are two of the best additions to the Ridonculous Races cast, but their worst deed is Emma sabotaging Mickey. Kitty is, for lack of a better term, too good for this world. Even with Emma's condescending attitude, Kitty still supported her feelings for Noah wholeheartedly.
You like him, admit it.
For example, she encouraged her to do something to keep Noah around, but not wanting to do something too crazy like tell Noah she likes him or even give a passing hint that she likes him. Emma instead opts to sabotage Mickey and Jay by more or less psychologically manipulating Mickey into being afraid of being contaminated by the horrid germs of an air guitar. We don't place this any higher since, to be fair, it is a competition, and again, Kitty is pretty innocent, but that was still a low blow, Emma. Granted, anything would be a low blow for the Adversity twins, but our judgment stands. They're kept from falling lower because, again, Kitty did nothing wrong. Next are another pair of siblings. Well, kind of. CHET and LORENZO, the stepbrothers, and their worst deed, the near-endless feud between them. To their credit, CHET and LORENZO aren't necessarily bad people. They are, however, pretty mean. It doesn't really go beyond insulting and antagonizing fellow contestants though, and as a general rule, whatever they do to others, they'll do it tenfold to each other.
Get your hands on my face!
They do get points for finally bonding later on, and for being teenagers who still have plenty of maturing to do. It seems their parents and step-parents were successful in getting them to bond, so good on them for that. We would tell you to meet our next entry, but they'd probably prefer another word choice. It's Laurie and Miles, the vegans, whose worst deed is physical assault. They're pretty much every negative vegan stereotype rolled up into one. Overly pretentious about their lifestyle, critical of those who don't live in it, even willing to criticize each other when the other's devotion comes into question. Check, check, and check. Already pretty obnoxious. But when the two find out that the challenge they sacrificed their principal for was a non-elimination round, Laurie attacks Dawn for it.
What happens in Iceland stays in Iceland.
Guys, your anger is understandable. If I was a vegan who ended up eating meat to stay in a competition, only to be told, LOL, JK, you didn't have to, I'd be pretty ticked as well. But come on, dude. If you've ever watched this show, you knew exactly what you're signing up for. And even if you didn't, it's not a license to attack someone. Finishing off the section is the police team of Sanders and MacArthur, whose worst deed is just MacArthur. We'll say two things in her favor. She's funny, and she does redeem herself by the end of the season, even saving Jose at one point and becoming extremely remorseful after she accidentally breaks Sanders' arm.
My arm is broken!
Up until this point, she was extremely reckless, violent, and was even willing to sabotage other teams to get ahead. She was the chaotic neutral to Sanders' lawful good, but after the arm-breaking incident, MacArthur knew it was time to straighten up and fly right, listening to MacArthur and becoming more of a team player, slowly but surely. It may not be much, but it's a step in the right direction, which is more than we can say for the characters with truly terrible deeds. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to the season's main villains, the ice dancers Jacques and Jose, whose worst deed is repeated sabotage. It might be surprising to see the season's biggest baddies only in third place, but hear us out. Sooner than many other villains in the series, the Ice Dancers showed their true colors early on as the season's most ruthless competitors. In terms of sabotaging their rivals, Jacques and Jose are unrivaled. They're constantly scheming to cheat and sabotage their way to the gold.
Watch and learn.
They would definitely hate to be getting the bronze today, but there's one thing that keeps them from falling any further. Their sabotage is limited to the other teams. That's not to say their relationship is super healthy. Jose is actually really abusive on the contrary, but while their methods are underhanded, they at least have the goal to win the gold medal. Even if in this list they're getting bronze, that doesn't absolve them morally, and we still hold that they're the most evil team by a long shot, but at least their worst deed was related to everyone's goal of winning the race. The silver medal of evil goes to Ryan and Stephanie, the daters, whose worst deed is Stephanie's abuse of Ryan. Sure, the first episode or two might make them seem like an adorably over-affectionate couple, but don't let that fool you. When it comes to competition, Stephanie is a monster by her partner's own admission.
A weakling like you could learn a lot from them.
I don't think.
She won't hesitate to berate, threaten, and abuse Ryan for the slightest mistake, physically and verbally, we might add. Even after they break up, they continue, just as the haters rather than the daters. After that, they spend the entire season bullying each other, allowing each other to be put in dangerous situations, basically to cause them as much discomfort as possible. While we're not exactly blaming Ryan, two wrongs don't make a right, man, but if nothing else, they did make up by the season's end, and as far as Ryan's concerned, he was at least fairly respectful and nice to the other teams. So at least one part of this horribly toxic couple was still decent as a person. I really wish they stayed broken up though. Ryan, you deserve better. Stephanie, you deserve some extreme professional help. Believe it or not, the gold medal of evil has to go to the mother-daughter duo of Kelly and Taylor, whose worst deed is some of the worst parenting and daughtering we have ever seen. We've all seen spoiled brats, but Taylor is on another level. She has no respect or empathy for anyone. Her mother, Kelly, is no exception, as she constantly berates her and openly says that she considers her lame and embarrassing.
I need some space. I'm giving you a timeout.
While of course still relying on her to literally carry her through challenges. While Taylor is easily the worst of the two, Kelly is far from innocent. Her only way of getting Taylor to apologize, an apology which she blatantly specifies is fake mind you, is to offer her a shopping trip. What's more, when Taylor's abuse comes to a head, Kelly finally loses her temper and screams at her that all her trophies were bought by her father. None of these Taylor actually won.
You've never won anything in your life, Taylor.
Playing devil's advocate, if Kelly canceling Taylor's allowance is anything to go by, maybe the parenting is on a better path. Kelly did seem to acknowledge that something was amiss after all. One can hope at least, but bullying your mom on live TV and humiliating your daughter on live TV are horrible deeds. They've easily earned the bottom position on our list, but we're sure this pair is going to end up on TV again. Whether that'll be reality or true crime is anyone's guess.